Yair Davidi speaking to you from Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, speaking to you on behalf of Brit Am, Hebrew Nations, movement of the 10 tribes of Israel. Our movement holds that the lost 10 tribes today are to be found mainly amongst Western peoples. That is where they give expression to the Israelite identity as predicted by the Bible. This is what we believe in, this is what we work for, this is what we exist for, this is what we are. We are an organisation dedicated to the promotion of this knowledge and of deepening it, expanding it, and researching it, and giving it over to others, and also working for the eventual reconciliation between Judah, that is the present-day Jews, and Joseph, meaning the Western peoples in general, meaning those of who that belong to the lost 10 tribes, that belong to the tribes of Israel, especially those of Joseph, whom we find mostly amongst the English-speaking peoples. The subject today, we can term it restoration, recovering, returning, giving back what once existed. Restorationism is a novel phenomenon that now exists throughout the world, throughout the Israelite peoples. The expression was first given to a movement in Britain, in the British Isles. We say the British Isles because it also included people from Ireland, Scotland, Wales and England. It was not specifically English but British. And it also it involved people from other places. There was one important pastor from Prussia who was helpful in it, who helped Theodor Herzl. People from France who also had similar ideas of people from America, but on the whole it was centered in the British Isles. A very important work has been written about this movement. Franz Kobler wrote it, The Vision Was There, History of the British Movement for the Restoration of the Jews to Palestine. It was first published with the World Jewish Congress in 1956 in London. And this work is now out of print and cannot be found, or is very difficult to be found, but we give it over. We have enabled people to read this work for nothing. They may download it from our website. And repeat, Franz Kobler, The Vision Was There, History of the British Movement for the Restoration of the Jews to Palestine. The book is available free of charge in either PDF or HTML format from the British website in its entirety. The book in its entirety is available from our website. And Kobler speaks of this movement, and this movement was in effect the want or the urge to see the Jews return to the land of Israel and set up their own independent polity in the land of Israel, to rule themselves in the land of Israel, to restore ancient Judea as it once was. As the Bible, anyone who reads the Bible sees that this is what there was in the beginning, and this was what, from the point of view of the Bible, is what is desirable, is what should be. And anyone who believes in God and who believes in the Bible at some time or other has this urge within him, especially in our time, to see things return to as they once were. Restorationism, that is what we talk about, that's what the movement was. Kobler says concerning the Restorationism, the establishment of the State of Israel may be rightly looked upon as the greatest collective achievement of the Jewish people in the history of the diaspora. There is, however, a non-Jewish element hidden in the restoration of Israel. The ideal of the Jewish people has in fact for centuries been shared, cherished and pursued by large sections of the nations amongst whom Jews have lived. Among them, the British people holds the outstanding place. Nowhere more than in Britain has the idea of the restoration of the Jews been developed into a doctrine and become the object of a movement extending over more than 3 centuries. Only in Britain, the leading spokesmen of many generations have been inspired by the vision of a revived Israel. Only there the creation of a Jewish national home has been a serious and almost continuous political issue which was finally translated into reality. The present book is an attempt to perform the task long overdue of rewriting the history of the movement as an integral part of British religious, social and political history, forming a parallel, not an annex, of the histories of Jewish Messianism and Zionism. The British movement for the restoration of Israel is in fact one of the rare instances of the continuous interest shown by one nation in the destiny of another people. Its specific historical significance lies in the recognition of Israel's restoration as an organic part of British political ideals. So that more or less sums it up. This sums it up, and it sums up other things that we're going to talk about, because this idea of restoration also affects us. The idea was that the Jews should return to the land of Israel, should rebuild their country, and this idea existed long before the state of Israel, and existed before Zionism, as a modern term, became a political movement. And the Jews always wanted to return to the land and rebuild it. This is a commandment in the Bible. It's part of Jewish religion. It is an integral part that cannot be separated from Judaism itself. And any Jew, any religion, all religious Jews want it. Some of them say it should be done in a certain time, it should be done under certain circumstances, but on the whole, this is what every religious Jew is imbued with, this idea. And throughout the Jewish community, the will and the want and the urge to return and re-establish the state of Israel, as it has indeed been done, exists. But only in the last couple of 100 years did this urge receive a political expression, become a political movement known as Zionism. But this Zionism did give expression to the urge of the Jews. Restorationism was the same thing, had the same ideals, but the Restorationism emanated from the Jewish, not from the Jewish people, but from the Gentile people, from the people of the British Isles, whom we believe to be constituted in great part from descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. And they too wanted to see the Jews return to the land of Israel, and they had a movement towards this called Restorationism, and this movement had effect. It was powerful. It involved leading personages of the time, prime ministers, ministers of state, kings, nobles, writers. A lot of very important people, very highly placed people, very socially prominent personages held these ideas, so I took an interest in them. And it played a part in internal British politics and culture and writings, and it is something there. And an integral part of the British Constitution, of the British cultural constitution, as if to say, of the corporate body of British idealism, involved with this as well. And eventually it did give rise, it did have effect. Eventually it gave rise to the British Mandate of Palestine after the First World War, and they first set up the infrastructure. The British were in control. They first set up the structure of what was in Palestine. They built the state of Israel. They prepared the state of Israel, which the Jews eventually took over. And they did that on behalf of the Jews, for the Jews, despite some of them later regretting it, or trying to renege, to go back, or becoming pro-Arab. And there were all kinds of problems. But on the whole, the overall policy was to continue with this project, and this is what was done. And also we now see the same feeling, the same urge continuing amongst the people of America, who also recognize the need for this to be done, and they also understand that in some way or other this is part of their own national heritage, something that they have to do. It is an expression of their ancestry to do this, even though they cannot express it in this way, or do not explain it, or cannot explain it in such a manner. This is the best explanation that exists for the phenomenon of other peoples, especially people whom we identify as Israelites, as descended from Israelites. They also instinctively want to see the Jews live in the land of Israel, and the land of Israel, the state of Israel, to be prosperous and strong. And we hold that these peoples are from the 10 tribes of Israel. And nowadays there's an arousal amongst both the Jews and the non-Jews to go back, to return, to restore that which once existed, And this arousal presages, is telling us that the Messianic era is coming close and that things are changing, and the different expressions that this arousal gives itself to are merely different separate facets of the one fundamental truth, that the Israelite soul amongst both the non-Jewish 10-tribe people and the Jewish people is becoming aware. We hear that the Messianic era, the Messianic era, is coming close, and we have to prepare ourselves, and we've been called upon to do what we can to further the task, to further the process, to do what must be done. And we find this all over. Amongst Christians, we have a movement to return to the Hebrew roots of Christianity. And they are all over the Christian world, especially in the West, especially amongst peoples whom we identify as belong to the lost 10 tribes of Israel, meaning Western Europeans and people in the USA and Canada and so on. There's a movement to return to the Hebrew roots. People are getting interested in Judaism, and they're adopting Jewish customs and Hebrew customs and biblical aspects of religious practice. So this is one expression of this phenomenon of arousal, of the need for restoration. We also have evangelical Christians who are working for the state of Israel, working for Zionism, becoming more pro-Jewish, more for the state of Israel than many Jews themselves are, and they realize that this is an expression of their ancestry and of their religion and of who they themselves are. These people are becoming closer to themselves, truer to themselves, and really getting back to their roots, and also this is all part of the same ongoing arousal. Another aspect is that people are taking more interest in their origins, in their ancestry, in their ethnic features of their forefathers, and this is also something which is connected to the idea of restoration and of revival. Amongst Jews, we have Jews in Israel, in the state of Israel, who are learning learn Torah full-time. And the media is against them. The secular media in Israel and overseas is critical of them, and here and there on the fringes there is something to be critical of, but on the whole this is a very positive phenomenon. This is a good thing, a very good thing, and it helps the state of Israel and helps the Jewish society and helps the world, helps the soul of the Israelite nation, to have these people learning full-time, and there are a lot of them, and tens of thousands of them, and they get by, the government gives them a small amount of money. It comes to a couple of $100 a month. It's not small, it helps, but it is not enough, and they get by from the rest through individual philanthropists, and also their extended families help them. Different organisations help them. Sometimes their wives work, and each one has their own arrangements, does what they can, and somehow or other they all keep going, and the Almighty helps them. Divine providence is with them, and this is another phenomenon which is only in our time has it taken on such intensity and extended to such over such a broad section of the populace. And this is something that's happening now under our eyes, before our faces. Jews are now coming back to the Torah. They are learning Torah full time, as well as that Jews who do not learn full time are becoming more religious. There's an ongoing movement to return to the Jewish faith, to keep the commandments, to become more orthodox, to learn, to pray, to believe. People are being inspired. There's a spiritual awakening in the land of Israel. This takes many forms, and not only do we have people learning full time, but we also have in the army Jewish youth, religious Jewish youth join the army, volunteer for frontline units, become the best soldiers. The majority of the officer corps are now Jewish youth. Jews are now religious Jews. National religious Jews are the majority of the officer corps now in the Israel army. Also the majority of the frontline commando type units also from religious youths, because this is how they express Judaism. This is what they think must be done, and this too is part of an urge, an inner urge to come closer to the God Almighty, to do what we can, for the land of Israel, to do what we can for our Hebraic consciousness, and both the Jews and non-Jews are part of this ongoing phenomenon. And another expression of this phenomenon is the urge to find the lost 10 tribes, to be certain where the lost 10 tribes are, to research it, to go on and on researching it, and to check the research and bring up more and more evidence, and to check and recheck and to refute those who deny this truth. The lost 10 tribes now are amongst Western peoples. That is where they gave expression to their Israelite ancestry, to their Israelite destiny, as the Bible said they would. That is where they are now. And this knowledge and the need to have this knowledge widely known and to have it internalized is also part of this restoration, of the urge for restoration, which incidentally also involves the will to rebuild the temple. According to different sources, the 10 tribes will be instrumental in helping rebuild the temple. The temple must be rebuilt. Things must be restored to how they are, to how they should have been. And God willing, we shall do it. We shall all do it. We shall all do what we can, and the Almighty will help us. And you are invited to join the ranks of restoration. Brit Am, Hebrew nations is in the front line. We are up there. Come, join us. Be with us. And together, God willing, we shall achieve something worthwhile. Thank you.